Okay, you guys, 8.1 day 2. Okay, main idea of today. Last time we solved for sides, and I give you two different ways, Pythagorean theorem or writing your trig sentences. So today we're going to solve for angles. Okay, solving for angles, which will help us solve a triangle, which basically means we're going to find everything that's missing. Okay, whether that's some sides are missing or an angle is missing, we're going to do that. So the biggest thing is, says we can use the inverse trig functions to find the measure of an angle. So real quick, if we remember, let's just take sine for example. We said sine of an angle equals opposite over hypotenuse. Well, if we do the inverse sine, which is this sine, that -1 means inverse. We're going to flip-flop. We're going to put the fraction in there, and that gives us the angle. And the way you get that is if you look at your calculator, okay, and you have to use a calculator on these, so you're probably going to get decimals. But if you look, if you push the second button and all your sine, cosine, tangent, see how it has the -1? So if I do second sine, that means I'm going to put the fraction in there. Let's make one up. Let's just say 7/12. Okay, so 7 would be my opposite, 12 would be my hypotenuse. And that tells me that okay, real quick, if you get something like that, you got to check your mode. And we have to be in degrees. So that's how we change it. So we push the mode button, go over to degrees. And then I'm going to push enter again. And that tells me that's a 35-degree angle, the theta I'm talking about, if that makes sense. But you'll see it in a little bit better. Anyways, biggest thing is when we were writing our sentences, we said sine of the angle equals the fraction. Well, inverse sine or inverse cosine or inverse tangent, it flip-flops these, okay, from the normal sentence or when we were solving for a side. Now when we're solving for an angle, we're going to flip-flop, okay? So, for example, if we look at this one, example 1, if this is our theta, okay, 4 is our opposite and 2 is our adjacent. So our normal sentence we would say tangent of x equals O over A or 4/2, okay? But I want to find x, so I'm going to flip these by saying inverse tangent of 4/2 gives me the angle. And then I get my calculator and I go second tangent, inverse tangent of 4 divided by 2, and I get 63.43, or x equals 63.4 degrees. Okay? Does that make sense? If not, take a second, rewind the video, or come up and talk to me, whatever you need to do. But I'm going to do this next example too. Okay? So the next one, again, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to identify what I'm solving for, this theta, and then I'm going to label my sides. This side's the opposite, and this side's the hypotenuse. So the one I use for that is the one with O and H, okay? Remember, we've got SOHCAHTOA, okay? So the one that uses that is sine, so I would write sine of theta equals over H, or 11/12. But I'm going to flip them because I need to solve for theta, and I get inverse sine of 11/12 equals theta. Okay, then I get my calculator, and I do second sine of 11 divided by 12, and I get 66.4. So theta equals 66.4 degrees. Okay. So, take a second, think about those, make sure you're feeling pretty good about them, and then if you're ready, let's move on to example 3. Okay, so example 3 says, the instructions for this says to solve for a triangle means to find any missing sides or angles that need to be found. So you're going to have to use some thinking, okay? Solving for the missing parts of each triangle. So the first thing I would do is this. You need to find everything that's missing. So remember how big letters are our angles and little letters are the sides. Okay, I'm gonna label my triangle like that. It already has A, B, and C. So I'm gonna label my sides that go with it. And then I'm gonna fill in the information that I know. C is always gonna be 90 degrees for the stuff we're doing right now, big C. And we have little c, which is 14. And then we have B, which is 68. And then we don't have anything else. And you'll always be given 3 pieces of information. So first thing we're gonna do is this. What's the easiest thing to find? Well, angle A is gonna be the easiest thing because I know in triangles, all 3 angles add up to 180. So I'm gonna go big A plus 68 plus 90 needs to equal 180. And I'm going to combine like terms. 68 plus 90 is 158. And then I'm going to subtract it from both sides. And I get A equals 22. So I've got 22 degrees. Okay. Now I need to solve for side A or B. And it doesn't matter which one at the moment. But I'm going to need to write a sentence. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the angle 68, and this is going to be my opposite side, my hypotenuse, and my adjacent. So if I want to find my side B, I would say sine, because the opposite and hypotenuse, sine of 68 equals little b over 14. Okay, that's review from last time. That's kind of was part of the assignment last time, is how to write your sentence for solving a side. Okay, and then I'm going to multiply by 14, and I get b equals 14 sine of 68, and I grab my calculator. 14 sine of 68, and because I'm solving for a side length, I'm not using the inverse button, and I get 12.98, which I'm going to round because it says round to the nearest tenth. I'm going to say b equals 13. Okay. And then there's 2 things I can do for side A. I can use Pythagorean theorem, which I think a lot of people like more, or I could write another sentence using cosine. Either way is fine. I probably would just use Pythagorean theorem. So I would go a squared plus 13 squared equals 14 squared. I get a squared plus 169 equals 14 squared, I think is 250. I gotta check on that one. 14 squared. Oh, 196. 196. Then I take away the 169. And I get a squared equals 196 minus 169 gives me 27. And then I'm going to square root it and square root it. And because it says I can round to the nearest tenth, I'm just going to plug it into my calculator. And I'm going to take the square root of 27. And I get 5.2 because it was 5.19. So those are the 3 sides. Those are the 3 angles. I've solved the triangle. Okay. Pause the video. Take a second. I want you to see how far you can get on example 4 on solving everything. Remember, write down capital A, B, and C, lowercase a, b, and c, see what information you have, and then go from there. Okay. So pause the video, challenge yourself a little bit, and then unpause when you're stuck, or if you just are ready to check. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write down my big letters and my little, so my angles and my sides. And I only have one angle, okay, angle C, but I do have side A, which is 10.1, and side C, which is 12. So the first thing I'm going to do here, I can't find any of the angles yet. So I'm going to solve for side B by doing the Pythagorean theorem. So I'll go 10.1 squared plus b squared equals 12 squared. So I get my calculator out and I go 10.1 squared and that's 102.01, I believe. Yep, plus b squared equals 144. I'm going to minus the 102.01, and I get b squared equals, let's do this, 144 minus 102.01, 41.99. I'm going to take the square root, and I get b equals square root of 41.99, and I get 6.47, so I'm going to round that to 6.5. Okay, so I've found all three sides. Now I'm going to be solving for angles. So doesn't matter which one, but just know that that angle becomes your theta. So if I'm going to solve for angle A, this is my theta. And now I've got opposite and hypotenuse and adjacent, but I'm going to use the ones that they give me. So I'm going to say sine of theta equals 10.1 over 12, opposite over hypotenuse. But I'm going to switch these and say the inverse sine equals theta. So then I grab my calculator, go second sine, make sure it has that -1 on there that says it's the inverse. I'm going to go 10.1 divided by 12, and I get 57.31, so I'm going to say 57.3. So that theta A equals 57.3. Yep. So, and it would be even better actually, you guys, if you wrote it as sine of big A. So big A is 57.3. And you could write another sentence to find angle B, or you could say 57.3 plus big B plus 90, all the angles equal 180. You combine like terms and you get B plus 147.3 equals 180. And then I subtract, I take 180 minus the 147.3, and I get 32.7. So I minus the 147.3, and I get B equals 32.7. Okay. And one thing that I check really quick is I remember how angles and sides have a relationship. So my small angle is going to create my small side. So I'm looking. So B is my smallest angle, B is my smallest side, A is my medium, A is my medium, and C is my big, and C is my big. And that will always be the case. So if you check your answers and you notice that that isn't true, where your angles go in the same order as your sides in order of size, then you've made a mistake somewhere. Okay. So that's it, you guys. You can literally find anything on a right triangle. Now you have the tools to do all of it. So take a second, absorb all this, and then if you feel good, get going on the assignment.